Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Box Score Sports Podcast. I'm your host, and on this clip, what we're going to do on the YouTube channel is we're going to do our NBA exit interview for the Denver Nuggets. We're going to talk about the season that was, we're going to talk about the offseason, and then their long shot moves that we'd like to see them make. That might not happen. But before me and Clint get into it, let us know in the comments down below what you think of the Denver Nuggets offseason, what they should do, and maybe a long shot pick as well of who you'd like to see them add to their team. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So let's start with their grade, Clint. The Nuggets were the 4 seed this year. They were 50-32. They lost to the second round to the OKC Thunder, who probably at this point they're the favorites to win the finals. They're up 3-2. So what would you give the Nuggets as far as the grade goes?
So another team that had quite a bit of turmoil towards the end of the year, I ended up with a B plus for them just because.
That's funny. I got a B plus too as well. Yeah,
50
sorry.
wins. No, 50 wins. You took OKC to 7 games. Probably played them the best, arguably spots in that series where you can look back and be like, we probably should have won that series.
Correct.
And had a shot at the title. But when you have coaching and GM turmoil that we saw that, was frankly underreported, and then you see what comes out of it, the mess behind the scenes, and even now they have an interim GM, but they're letting the assistant GM go. Haven't hired anyone in that position. The draft is next week. It's a big off season for the team. But for just the season, I went with a B plus because you saw guys like Christian Braun make that jump, look better, look more confident in the playoffs. Westbrook even looked good from times, and then like Westbrook, eventually the magic carpet ride runs out. But from the guys they picked up, I think they got more than they probably expected.
By the way, I want to call him Braun too every time, Christian Brown, but it's a funny spelling. But yeah, me and you on the same page with his team. B plus. Jokic still the best player. I mean, like that's part of the reason why. But Braun took Brown took a leap, and the Westbrook thing worked. He was a $3 million player. I know people are like, well, he was, he had moments in the playoffs. He's a $3 million player. He's not expected to be a triple double guy anymore. That's not what you're paying him for. I think at times he exceeded what they were paying him for, and at times he didn't. He was a veteran minimum player. Like the guys you pay $3 million for, you don't typically see play 20 minutes a game. They're like a 8 minute a game guy. So Westbrook, the whole thing worked. I'm kind of disappointed he won't be back next season on the team, just because I thought the dynamic between him and Jokic was kind of fun at times. Like they worked really well together. But you're right. Coaching firing, GM fired in the middle of the season, that's just not a good look. And then their bench. Part of the reason why there was such, I guess, animosity between GM and head coach is the head coach wasn't playing the young guys enough. The GM wanted the young guys to be played more so that in the playoffs they could rise to the moments if they needed to. And that just didn't happen. And we saw that in the playoffs when they needed to rely on the bench, whether it was Watson or Strother. It just sometimes the moments seemed too big for those guys. So those were kind of negatives on the season.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. When you're a coach, you're trying to win. And, when the season started, you probably looked at Westbrook and like, well, this guy has won. Knows, we know what we're going to get from them, and the young guys you don't. But as we get into the offseason stuff, when you get to the playoffs and Westbrook has distinct limitations, it is then hard into a big series against a team that's probably about to win a championship to then hope that Julian Strother comes through when you haven't, really gotten able to test some more. You put Peyton Watson, who shows flashes, but again, it comes down to a game 5, game 6, game 7. It's really hard to then throw these guys out there and expect them to succeed when you haven't kind of given them the reps or at least the confidence or ability through the season to get in that situation.
Yeah, and I also want to add real quick, totally agree with you. And but the other thing I think is a con is just the backup center situation. Like the fact that Jokic can't rest more than 3 minutes, it just blows my mind. You got Porter Jr. and you got Jamal Murray, and every time Jokic sits down and you keep those guys in, they can't work without him, and it blows my mind. So like the fact that I think they got Saric, didn't really work out. And then at the trade deadline, you didn't do anything to try to get a center. It baffles me a little bit. So that also goes to their B+ grade.
Yeah, and they didn't adjust. I mean, they drafted Ron Holmes, who I really wanted for the Bucks. They traded right in front of the Bucks to get him, but he tore his Achilles, I believe, in preseason. So, but despite that, again, you're a team that's trying to win at the deadline. You got to figure that out to a degree. They basically turned into like how the 76ers were when Embiid would come off the court and they
Right.
had nothing, and you're throwing Andre Drummond out there, and you're like, I think we know how this ends. Same for the Nuggets. That's definitely something they need to figure out. DeAndre Jordan is not the answer.
Yes.
And you got to have something where whether it's in the playoffs for a few minutes or just in the regular season to give the dude a break.
Yeah, and you look like at the Pacers, they have Bradley and Bryant. And like in moments they both can play a little bit, right? Like it's like, oh, if Turner gets into foul trouble, like we saw Bradley have moments and Bryant have some moments. Or like Will Reed for the Pistons. He comes on when Isaiah Stewart gets injured and he plays some very valuable minutes. It's like, how do you not have some of these teams' third centers to be your backup center? Just nobody. But yeah, DeAndre Jordan, great veteran. He had a time where he was important in this league, but he's just not it. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah. Let's go to their off season. What do you think about their off season? What should be their like priorities? Where do you think they go from here?
They have to figure out their bench a little. We talked about it with center, but just overall, if you're going to go with the young guys, you got to get Strother, you got to get Watson minutes, um, and you got to be good with your minimums. Like Denver should be one of those teams too that's just fighting over those guys that like, hey, I'm sure you could make a little more. You can come here, you can play. We're going to be good. And I don't feel they've done a great job. Like you said, Westbrook turned out better than you could ever expect for a minimum contract, but he has such distinct weaknesses that showed up, and he overcame a lot of them with it. He had some good shooting games, but you got to do that, and you got to figure out what you're going to do with Porter Jr. is basically your option to either get two players for him, and maybe they're not as good, but it gives you some depth and something that can be a replica of him because you got this short window with Jokic, and you can't just keep throwing it away, especially in the West because it's tough sledding out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Depth is so important. I think center, you got to hit that. You got to try to get a backup center. So there's that part. I think that if you can trade Porter Jr. for multiple guys, but I think that's the way like most people are leaning. You got to keep Gordon, Jokic. You're going to keep Murray. So Porter Jr. kind of becomes this expendable guy, which maybe some teams that are looking for a little bit of spark, a little bit of difference, some youth on their team. Like Porter Jr. is not that old, and maybe he's expected to be what the third scorer on this team, and maybe he needs to be more of a second scorer, right? Because it's just like maybe he needs a little bit more shots to put up. There's players like that. Like if they only get like 10 shots a game, they can't get into a rhythm, but you give them like 15 and all of a sudden their scoring goes up and their efficiency goes up. So I think there is a possibility that there could be a team out there that talks themselves into Michael Porter Jr. That's the direction. But I think I'm with you. I don't know if I'd go after like, oh, let's trade Michael Porter Jr. for just like one good player. I'm more of like, can we get a couple good players for Michael Porter Jr.? And they do have their middle level and a veteran minimum as far as exceptions go. So we'll see what they do with that.
Yeah, you have to do something. You gotta stay. I hate to say relevant because they were relevant last
Oh
year,
yeah,
but Michael Porter Jr. is, with his injuries, he hurt his shoulder. Hopefully, that's nothing that I didn't even check if he had to have surgery or anything. I don't recall seeing that, but
I
he's
didn't
also had
either.
back issues before.
Mhm.
So sometimes the longer you go, you hate to mess around with back injuries.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing about it. How hard will he be to trade because of those injuries concerns? But he's only 26, so I can't, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Okay, you ready for the long shot?
Yes.
Give me your long shot for the Nuggets.
So you can mess around a lot with Michael Porter Jr. One that it involves Miami. Don't know if Miami would do it. Maybe if they kind of strike out on some other things. But basically, Porter Jr. to the Nuggets for Wiggins and Jaime Jaquez.
Mm, yeah.
Wiggins, obviously, now there's a there's an up and down wild card of a player. But maybe the untradeable 2 years ago, Jaime Jaquez can give you something in the front court. Otherwise, you can go down the route of DeRozan and a pick, a couple second round picks, and DeRozan. The great Jeremy Grant, as
Yeah.
we talked about in the other one, you could bring back. But I think that's the range you're probably dabbling in for teams willing to give up for Porter Jr.
Yeah, Paul George might be another guy that they go after for Porter Jr. Yeah, I got the same names you do, Wiggins, Grant, DeRozan, but that doesn't solve their depth problem. It brings somebody in that can kind of replace what maybe to a better degree of what they want from Porter. Like Grant's a better defender than Porter, so he'll DeRozan's just a better on-ball player than Porter Jr., so he'll add something. Wiggins is kind of, I don't know, maybe he's a Michael Porter Jr. light. He's a better defender, not as good as a shooter, but he just the inconsistencies like Michael Porter Jr. can have. So that's the only problem with that. So I have two. This one is a super long shot. Now the Nuggets have 4 picks, so it depends how like how valuable a team sees those picks in the next couple of years with the Jokic. Like maybe he doesn't want to play for a long time or whatever. So here's one. I was on the Herb Jones going to a team trade. Michael Porter Jr. with 3 picks and a pick swap for Herb Jones, Jose Calderon, and Kelly Olynyk.
You are on a Herb Jones kick.
I know, I know, I know, I know. That's what I'm
I,
telling you.
yeah, for some reason, I think it was Herb Jones where I saw that the New Orleans was like, we want 2 firsts and a player, and I was like, well, good luck with that. But I think Herb Jones is like a perfect player for exactly what Denver needs, and I think whether they have to give up Porter or throw out a future pick, that's what they should be looking to do to refresh that, because I think we both agree that Jokic is probably going to age fairly well. It's not like he's dependent on his superior jumping ability
Athleticism,
and
his
lateral.
quickness.
Yeah, his lateral quickness. I mean, it might show a little on defense as he ages, but that's not what he's known for. So to get players like that around him, I think would be quite effective.
Yeah, I just thought like if you get Jones, Jose, and Olynyk gives you a center option that you can almost play with Jokic at times because of the way he spreads the floor. He can shoot threes. And then Jose Calderon is a really good backup who plays really good defense. He's a solid backup, should say, that plays really good defense. So the depth would be there. The other one I had is so Michael Porter Jr. is from Chicago, right? So I thought of the Bulls and Michael Porter Jr. for Patrick Williams and Kevin Herter was the other one. So maybe picks have to be thrown in there, but you get Porter's contracts 2 years, Williams is 5, and then you get Herter, who's a better shooter, I mean, 4 years, I should say. I think Williams is 4 years. So you add a little bit of depth and shooting with Herter to surround with Jokic. So that would have been kind of the other one I threw out there.
Yeah, I think that's like a wild card. At least Chicago should think of, and I think, whenever we talk about Patrick Williams,
I know.
I think Nuggets fans would do the Patrick Williams, but again, from time to time, he shows kind of what you're looking for, and I think just about anyone looks better when you get to play with Jokic. The shots you're going to get, the movement that the team employs. So it could be one of those buy low targets, save yourself some money long term. But I think that would be hard for Nuggets fans to just be like Patrick Williams. But I think sometimes as a team you got to look past that and be like, what can we do, to get this guy better.
Yeah, the contracts for Williams and Herter are cheaper than, those combined kind of equal to Michael Porter Jr.'s contract. So they're a little bit more tradable if you don't like Patrick Williams. Obviously, if he doesn't work with Jokic, though, then there's a bigger problem you have. But yeah, it was just like, what can we do to add depth? That was a trade I thought of just to get Michael Porter also to Chicago. So, okay. Anything else for the Nuggets?
I don't think so. It's a big season for them. So hopefully they figure out their front office stuff.
Yeah, agreed. And so we're going to move on to the next team, but I'm going to have a Herb Jones trade for that team as well, just because I'm in on this kick. But anyway, for everybody else, thanks for watching. You can check out our other NBA exit interviews. We're doing one for every single team. Subscribe, comment down below what your thoughts are on the Nuggets season that happened and the off season to come. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.